Okay, so this has been a long time in the making. Welcome to today's live show. You are in my studio, in my basement studio that I have been renovating for almost 2 years. I'm so happy to have been able to reach this point where I can actually have people, quote, come into my studio to see a few pieces. I did have an open studio party here about a year ago in the fall that I really wanted to, make a habit of. But as you know, right now we're dealing with the COVID-19, so that's not really possible. So this is the next best thing. So today's live show is going to be basically me revealing 5 special works that I was able to actually finish up. Many of them have either been sitting in my computer or just weren't quite done. They might have been 80% done. Some of them were started long, long time ago. So basically my recent goal has been to just finish up loose ends so that I can feel good about my work, up to this point, and then I'll be moving on to create totally different, well, not totally different, but a new series of works that will be more hand rendered and more one of a kind works and larger than the ones that I've been doing. So one thing about these 5 special works is there is exclusive pricing just for viewers like you who have been my followers for quite a while. Some of you, you've been on my newsletter list, or you've been checking out my Facebook posts, or you've been on my blog, and so on and so forth. So it should be fun getting into some of the stories behind some of these pieces here. And maybe including some of the inspiration and process involved. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer before we get started so I can see who else is going to be joining. So feel free to comment below if you have any questions or thoughts. I'm going to check the chat to see. This is the first time I've done this, so really not used to this. Let's just see. There's going to be a link, direct link here in the left for you to go and click on any of the artworks that I mention here. They will be numbered 1 through 5, so you can hit that link and it's like the gateway that will take you to the actual artworks on my website, AlyssaHIntonArt.com, where you can actually grab to purchase any of the ones that you want. Let me just see if I can get a little better oriented here, since this is the first time I have done this. Trying to figure out where the chat is. I wish I had a guide here telling me how to do all this. Actually, don't see a chat. If you are here, could you maybe make a comment? Let me see. Okay. All right, well, I'm just going to continue on. We'll see what happens here. Like I said, this is the first of many of these, so I'm not going to stress out about it too much. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is there are limitations on this work today. In other words, there are only one of each of these pieces here available. And like I said, if you check the description here in the comment box here, not the description, but the link here, you can just go over to my special page on my website and it'll show you all the works. And you can grab what you want and then let me know so I can share it with the rest of the people. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I just wanted to show you this. This is kind of just a fun thing. This is a mask I made. Hey there. This is a mask I made out of a gourd that I got from a farmer. And it was also not finished. Now, I originally got these, a whole huge bag of these gourds for a summer camp that I did at Carolina Friends School summer camp. So it was kids around age 9 to 12 that I taught how to do this. So This is yet another kind of incarnation of what I do. It's not totally finished or glued in. You can see the mouth is still loose. The nose is glued in and the eyes are. But this is almost finished also. So I'm having a ball in here just finishing up stuff. So I'm going to just hang him over here. And now we're going to start with number 1. Okay, so the title of this piece is called Osage 9 Square. The story behind this piece is basically that it is based on a piece that I did called, hold this a little straighter, called Osage, just Osage. And it's something that I did a very long time ago. Let me pull this out of the packet to get rid of some of the glare. It's a piece that I did a very long time ago. When I say very long time ago, I mean when I was a teenager. I actually did this, the original piece. So the original was called a Ecological, which is a type of a cardboard plate that you make where you layer up cardboard. And you layer up cardboard and you glue it together, and then you use that as a printing plate. So you smear the ink in the printing plate, which is covered by acrylic, to keep it sealed so it's waterproof. But you smear the ink in the all over the plate, and you wipe it however you want, custom wipe it, and then you can print on printing paper and get your image that way. It's a type of relief printing. So basically what I did was I took the original plate itself and scanned it into the computer, and I reworked it and worked it and reworked it in Photoshop. And originally it was just one square, just one portrait, like the one up in the upper left. And I ended up creating a 9 square out of it because I just thought it would be interesting. And originally this is something I did just a few days ago, this idea of having it be a 9 square, kind of like in an Andy Warhol style. And this is something I've done with my students. So I thought, well, why don't I do some of the things that I teach my students how to do? So that's the medium. This actual print is a photographic print on satin paper. It is 12 by 15. It's archival. It's hand signed. And I thought I would show you, let me get it back in the packaging here. I thought I would show you a framed art piece that is of the same size, but with a healthy mat around it. So if you were to buy a piece like that, you would actually be able to put a mat on it like this, and you would end up getting a much larger piece. I mean, you don't have to have a mat this wide on it. It could be, an inch less. I wouldn't go too much more streamlined than that. And then, this is sort of a typical frame here, sort of a textured frame. So this is just an example of what you could do with a print like that in terms of getting it presentable. All right. I guess there are no questions, comments. So I guess we will move on. Oh, the price. I forgot about the price. So normal price for this would be $125. And today I'm selling it at $88. So click on the link in the comment bar if you are interested in that. Okay, next piece is number 2. Okay, this is very different from most of the things I've done. This is a surface design. It's called Swamp Window Space. And the story behind this is just appreciating nature, and especially the sort of jungly, viney nature that you find in certain parts of North Carolina, especially down in Robeson County, or some of the rivers where you have the cypress trees growing out of the water, and the plant life is very, very dense. I recently went out to eastern North Carolina and stayed at a campground in Windsor, North Carolina, where they had these tree houses. And boy, was that a swampy, damp place. The river was sort of like, it just kind of like spread out across the land, to the point where you couldn't really tell where the edges of the river were. So This is inspired by that, and you can see the little window, the little hole. This kind of lets you look out from within the swamp. This is on smooth 100% fine art rag paper. What else? Archival inks, hand signed. And then for a framed example, I thought I would show you this actual print that I framed up that I'm really happy with. That would be this. So that print is rather small. It's a 9 by 9. Yeah, 9 by 9 inches. So here's an example of putting it in a 12 by 12 frame. The normal price for that piece, it would be $70. Not framed, of course. Frame adds a whole lot more value on it. But it is on sale today for $50. So that is the deal on that. You can click on the link if you are interested in this piece. It's up there on my website on the special page. Let me pull this out of the plastic because that glare is kind of creating problems. That is a whole lot better. All right. It's kind of tricky holding it level in this frame here. Turn it this way. There we go. Okay, let me put this back. And drop this. Place this over here. Okay, and then for number 3. Okay, the title of this piece, should probably keep them up here. The title for this piece is Dear Messenger 5. This is a part of a series of many Dear Messenger pieces. I think I have 9 or 10. Yeah, 10 Dear Messenger pieces altogether. Some I thought I would never finish, but I was just working on the hardest one yesterday, and I think it's going to come to a resolution. So sometimes artworks just take a long time to be resolved. You just put them away, work on something else. You might dig it up again several years later and be like, aha, you know, have an aha moment, know exactly what to do. So anyway, this piece, Dear Messenger 5, basically the story of it and many of the other Dear Messenger pieces, and let me take this out, again, has to do with swamps down here in North Carolina and just sort of like that kind of environment, that kind of swampy environment, but also the deer being the top totem animal for the Tuscarora of North Carolina, which are some of my ancestors here. The main cause for me actually moving to North Carolina from Pennsylvania was for me to kind of dip into the river of my heritage here. And, you know, I ended up using iconic images that were directly connected to the belief systems of our people and the various animal powers and important philosophies around various animals. So the deer messenger being kind of like otherworldly, to the point where the deer can sort of go between the spirit world and Earth, and tell us a lot about what's important here on Earth and what's good for the well-being of humans. I also think the deer personally represents just nature and wildlife in general. It's one of the larger animals that we still have running around here in the United States. When you go to Europe, you don't really see that many wild animals. You certainly aren't going to see a lot of deer running around in a country like Portugal, for example. But here, it's kind of normal to see deer still jumping through the bushes, especially at dusk. So the deer, you can see there are stars here. I believe I have 7 altogether. Those represent the spirit world. Those are like ancestor spirits. Maybe I should hold this to the side. Those are ancestor spirits. They are signifying the deer's connection to the ancestors. So the normal price for this one would be $125. but it's selling for $88 today. It is signed. It is hot off the press. It is the first one off the press, actually, because it's been hiding in my computer for years. So again, you can click on the link if you're interested in getting this one. Okay, the next one would be number 4. Okay, so number 4, the title of this piece is Ecological Grief. And yes, it's kind of a sad piece. However, I think the state of the ecology, the environment is a sad, sad scene that really needs to be dealt with. And I know for me personally, I feel a lot of grief over the state of our environment. It's with me all the time. It's with me every day, pretty much all day. So this kind of came out of me. It was one of those pieces where it was very unplanned, but it just kind of developed. And again, it was sitting in my computer for many years unresolved, and I just resolved it last week. So I really like it. I think it has a lot of power to it, even if it is sad. And one of the things that give it power is exactly what I was just describing, which is just the unplannedness of it and the sort of organic birth of this piece. I think gives it a lot of power. It's not overworked. It's just sort of like it kind of came about, you know. It insisted on being what it is. So all kind of on its own. I just sort of like, you know, touched it a few times. So let me see if I can get it closer to the camera. Yeah. So now this one is on watercolor paper, fine art rag, 100% rag watercolor paper. So it has a little bit of a texture to it. It also makes it a little more expensive than the satin photo paper. It's hand signed as well. The normal price for this then would be $150, and the sale price is $105. So, and let me take it out of this glary package so you can see. Now this is really got a really nice matte finish because of the watercolor texture. It kind of absorbs the light nicely. So there you go. That's a pretty nice view of that piece. Okay. So again, just click on the link and you can grab that one if you would like it. And then number 5. Number 5 is pretty different. Number 5 is actually a digital painting. And the title of it is Alligator Men, Business as Usual. So let me get up close with this one. This is all about, well, comes from a story I wrote, a children's story that I wrote about, it's called Little Red Pup and the Alligator Man. It's sort of like a takeoff on Little Red Riding Hood, except Little Red Riding Hood is actually a wolf. And then the sort of mean bad entity in the story is the Alligator Man, who's actually a man, but a man who is driven by his instincts, his base instincts. So kind of like the reptilian brain. The man whose reptilian brain is just super alive and well. So he also is a shapeshifter. So he shifts back and forth between alligator form and human form. And this is the problem with him. So he's stalking this little red wolf. He's thinking about lunch. He's trying to figure out if the little red wolf has brothers and sisters and how to kind of get the biggest lunch possible, the most out of the deal in the story. I don't want to give away the entire story. But with this piece, what I did was I took the character and made another character, a buddy, out of the second one. Well, actually, let me correct that. Originally, they were the same character, but they look separate from these different views from them. So in this piece, I made them into two separate business partners, I call it. And that's why it's called Business as Usual. And they're about to shake hands and make a business deal. Could be a shady business deal. Who knows? Um, you see, one has a red hair tie and the other has a blue hair tie. That signifies the sort of the duality of opposites. Red and blue also indicate DNA, the DNA strands, the two separate strands that twine together. They're usually represented by red and blue, especially in spiritual traditions, in native spiritual tradition. That has a lot of significance. So, yeah, they're about to do a business deal. I also created this piece to remind myself of what's often happening when I step out the door and I am going out into the world and I'm dealing with people in various places that, you know, um, they could be operating the way these guys are operating. And I need to be reminded of that and just sort of keep myself level and protected from that. So this is on watercolor paper too. So it's really nice quality, has a little bit of texture, and as you can see, it absorbs the light as opposed to glaring. Normal price on this would be $80. I'm selling it for $55 today to anybody who's interested. Whoa, anybody who's interested in going and grabbing this piece. So there you have it. Those are the 5 pieces for today. If there are any questions, I'm glad to answer them. I'm sensing that there probably are not. So over and out. Thank you for attending. Okay, bye-bye.